All right, we're back. We are MAPD124 in the winter 2017 semester. It's getting windy outside, and it's week 10, part 3 of our broadcast. And I'm sorry. Okay, so what do we got to do? We got to transition. That's what we got to do. And if we don't have to even use state machine, normally we would. But here's an example of how we can do it with some kind of mouse up event. If you wanted to press a button and run an animation, just like we did a skAction, we can do something called an skTransition, where we can move from one scene to the next. Okay, so that's what the reveal is called, right? And notice where it says width down, right? Width down, and then a duration of 1. All right, so there's going to be some configuration we're going to have, right? And then let the new scene, we're going to make a new scene equals something called, in this particular case, they're calling it game config scene. We set up the scene like we normally would, and then we're going to present the scene, right, with our reveal transition. Okay, and we don't have to have a transition at all. If you don't want to, like a special type of transition, there's many options, and this just says this is one of them that you can do, right? Again, this is right in the Apple documentation. It's right up here, and it's all about scenes. It also talks about how to do animations and different ways of kind of moving from one animation state to the other, which is kind of neat, right? And then it gives you all the details on how to do different kinds of animations. So these are transition objects, a crossfade, different things like that, a doorway, fade. And I'm probably going to want to do a fade because it's the kind of transition we're using to come into the scene, right? So I want to kind of do that. Okay, you don't have to use any kind of transition at all, though. Here's the reveal. And it says, reveal creates a transition where the old scene moves out of the view, revealing the new scene underneath it. Okay, so that's what happens. So it depends on what the scene is going to be. Now, why is it like this? Because what happens is, look at what it says. It says, pauses incoming scene, pauses outgoing scene, right? You can see what happens when it does this. And also the skTransition direction, right? If you look at that, there's some other values, right? To kind of tell you the transition, it's an enumeration which tells you which way it's going, and it'll show you how that works, right? So that's how we're going to do it. Let's try doing it. One thing to show me the code, or another way to actually do it, right? Now, we're not going to do it in an event. We're going to do it when my configuration, when my collision manager shows my value is being, my life is 0, I have access to the scene, and I'm going to do it right from my configuration, my collision manager. My collision manager has reference to the scene itself. Remember, I give access to it. I'm going to do it right from there. Let's try it out. We'll do this, and then that'll be it for today. Okay? I swear. Argo. No. The other thing I want to do is we need a place to go. We can't just like create a new scene. We need a scene that's already been defined, right? So we only have our play scene. Let's make another scene, right, all together. And to do that, right-click on here, and we're going to add a new file. And we want to definitely make a new scene file. Wow, it's pretty windy out there. Which we definitely want to make it sprite kit scene. This one here, next. And we're just going to call this the game over scene, right? So we have a game over scene. Okay, here's our new scene that we're moving toward. Great. Did I make the right one? I don't even know if I did. I think I made an SKS file. Did I? Yeah. Game over SKS file. That's not really what I wanted, but that's okay. We'll put that down underneath there near our play scene.sks. And we'll make another file. We want a sprite kit scene file, like a scene.swift. So I guess we're going to have to make a .swift file up here. We'll just call it actually, we'll make it a Cocoa Touch class. That'll give us the ability for us to give it some inheritance, right? So my new class is going to be the game over scene Swift. That's what it's going to be, right? Because we need a Swift class, and then we're going to derive from SK scene. You guys are all taking off on me, man. It's crazy. I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Sprite kit. I also want to import, like I said, good practice is gameplay kit. I think it's good, a good practice kind of include them both. And when I have this scene, this game over scene, what I also want to have in here, just to make it quick, I'm just going to grab some stuff from the other scene. So I'm going to go back to my play scene, .swift. I need a did move to view, right? So I'm going to grab all this stuff that I already have in my did move to view. All this stuff. In fact, most of it. What am I doing? So copy this and go back to my game view. Because it's going to be very similar, right? My game over scene, where did I put it? Where is it? At the top. There it is. Here's my game over scene. I want to paste that in there for a second. And I don't need all this stuff. But, for example, I do want an ocean sprite. I want my ocean to kind of scroll in the background. I definitely want that, right? And for this, I need some references. So I'm going to go back to my Swift scene. Don't worry about the errors that I got right now, but I need some of this stuff. So I need my ocean sprite for sure. And that's really it for my variables, just this part. So I'm going to kind of go back. So I don't have to type it again, right? Game over scene. And so I definitely need this part, right? But all this stuff I don't need. Clouds and my scoreboard, definitely don't need that. And although I could, if I really wanted to, I could have a high score. Like I could display the high score and keep track of it between scenes. I'm not going to do that here. I'm also not going to make a sound, so I'm not going to do those things. I'm just going to erase all this stuff here up to there. So that's the first one. This is this part, right? And then what I also want is not just my did move to view, right? Because that's one of the ones I need, but I also want my touches, right? So I want to be able to touch my scene and do stuff, right? So again, going back to here, all these touchdowns, I want to definitely have all this. So I think it's good to have control over your environment a little bit, and I definitely need my update. If I don't have that, then I'm going to have a problem. So I have all this. And then we'll erase. It's easier to destroy than to build, I always say. Right? Far easier. So we can erase stuff far easier than typing stuff. Right? So, for example, I don't need any of these right now, so I'm just going to get rid of them. So I don't care about moving my plane sprite around. There is no plane sprite. But maybe at some point I want to be able to touch the screen to go back, maybe a button or something. So I'll leave that there. This stuff can all stay the same because I'm not doing anything with this right now, right? But all this can go. The only thing I care about is to update my ocean, which is the top one. So all this can go. For now, I think this is good. So I got my update. Okay. I've got a scene on this side, right? And I know what's going to happen when I instantiate my ocean. Everything's going to be good. What I need to do is set up my SKS now. Here's my SKS. And remember, this is the same problem that I had last time, right? All the same things I did last time to my original scene, which was over here. And I can reduce this stuff over here a little bit. So my custom class is going to be my game over scene. That's what it's got. You have to modify this part for sure. My name of my scene is going to be my game over. My game over. That's what the name is. If I want to have a camera, I can put a camera in place. I don't need that. My custom size is going to be back to iPhone 4S. I'm going to specify that as portrait for sure, right? So all those same things. In my background, I want to make it black, just so that we have the same kind of transition that we had before, from one to the other. So there we go. So there's that. There's my little scene. Again, I can check to see. Oh, this one's important too. My anchor points. I got to put them at the bottom left-hand corner, right? So remember how I did that? I went to 0 for my anchor point, and then 0. Puts it at the bottom left-hand corner. If I don't do that, then my ocean will appear in the wrong place. I don't want that. Those are all important things. The other thing I need in this particular scene, like I have in my other one, in my placeScene.swift, which is this one, at the top I set up window coordinates. And I want to still have these things because these things are going to be for my particular scene, right? So I can change them later, but I want to have them in there as well. Again, this is a workaround right now. We can make things differently another day. Chances are we won't be doing this another day. This is the last day we're talking about games. Next week is something else. It's the way we roll, you know. All right, so this is this stuff, right? We set this stuff already for the screen. Now notice it says invalid redeclaration of screen height. Why? Because once I've included it up here, and it's already been included in my other scene, right? Then it's already here. Right? Now this might be a problem when I instantiate my scene, so I may have to move this out of here. For now, we don't need this. And now what it's saying is, when something happens, I'm going to move to this scene. That's what's going to happen. One thing I'd like to do is play my, I'm going to play my ocean sprite. So it's going to start, instantiate, and just kind of scroll forever. That's what it's going to do for now. Okay, that's all I want to see in my game over scene. Just instantiate my for now. If I can see my ocean instantiating forever, good, right? In my play scene, here it is, this one. That's it. It's going to be triggered by my collision manager. So my collision manager is going to have control, right? And I'm going to do the check right here. When my lives reach less than 1, so 0, I'm going to transition. Okay. So again, I'm going to do my lives. I'm going to play my thunder sound, and I might as well transition. So I can say something like scene.skTransition. Where is it? I think I remember. Oh yes, we have to set up the transition first. So let's call it. We'll use the reveal, like they said. So we'll say if first of all, if my scoreboard dot lives, capital L lives, I can check now. This is the getter, right? Is less than 1. And what I want to do when this happens is I want to set up a reveal. We'll call it reveal. Sure. Let's get this basic code right here, which is a skTransition.reveal. All right, let's see if that works, first of all. skTransition. Let's see what different ones there are. There's crossfade, doors. I think I'll use the fade as a reveal. We'll call it fade with time duration. I like that one right there. Fade with duration. We'll make it a time of 1, and we'll call this fade. And the new scene, which is going to be called the game over scene, right? Because that's the new one. So let game over scene equal to a new game over scene. And it's going to ask for a bunch of different things here. One of them is going to be the width and height of my scene. That's one thing. But remember that there's different variations to this, right? So if I say game over scene, right? What is my defaults going to be, right? I need to have some kind of, it's not game over scene, it's game over scene with a capital. That's why it didn't work. Game over scene. Of course, it didn't work again. Let's try that again. Game over scene. Did I call it lowercase game over scene? No, I think I did right. Yeah, I know, but I'm wondering why it's not giving me the code hinting. It never does, eh? What was that? That's the screen size, yeah. I could do an empty constructor. It's implemented by subclass to initialize a new object to receiver immediately after memory if it has been allocated. And I think what we did was we did the same thing, but we did it by name. Yeah, this is the one we did, right? So whatever the scene was called, right? Because that's what we did over here. We went, when we did this original one from our Swift controller right here, file name place scene, right? Which is place scene, we did the same thing. Just to keep it the same. Because we already have all our settings. Why would I try and do something different, right? So then I have to define the height, and I don't want to declare screen height and width. I don't want to do that. I want to make it transform by itself as much as possible. So let's go back to my placing. Sorry, my collision manager, where my string is the name of game over scene. Game over scene. Wow, it's crazy windy outside. All right, so that's my game over scene. That instantiates it, right? But now I have to present it, and what we're going to use is this scene.view. This part here, right? So we're going to say scene.view.present scene, and then the scene to present, which is the scene, the SK scene, which is new scene, which is game over scene. And then the transition type, which is the fade. Now, if we've done everything correctly, then we're good to go. Otherwise, we're not good to go. We'll have a problem. There we go. All right, so that when live less than 1, we transition. Let's see if this works. Don't worry, it's not going to break the window, I swear. All right, so we're going to try this out. Time for us to go. That's what it means. All right, so we're going to move. Let's get some points first.
Yay.
Somehow there's no clouds all of a sudden. Okay. All right.
Yay.
One more. Wow, no clouds. That never happens, right? And then, so what happened? So it worked, right? But there's an issue. This, live 0, score 200, right? So what I want to do is, oh, what happened there? That was weird, right? How come that happened, right? Well, there's a couple things that happen here that cause this to occur, right? One is, and we can, I'm not going to fix it today, but there's a reason why this is happening. It's going down half the way of the screen and kind of coming up, right? One is I don't have access to my scene values. I told you when I put the other scene away, I can't switch back to it, and that's why I'm getting this weird value. I'm trying to transition, but what I'm doing is I'm checking the size, the height of my screen, and my things have changed. I have to make sure that my transition is clean, right? Like I've got the exact same size screen, which I don't think I have. That's number one. That's the first problem. Second problem is this is no good, right? That means when I transition, before I transition, I need to turn these values off. I need to access these values and then don't display them, right? So remember, this is just an overlay, right? That's all it is. In my my game view controller, right? This is what controls this part. But we're almost there. Like we're very close. We have to make an adjustment to the ocean, and this has to be adjusted, right? And then I can print something else. Remember that whatever, I don't have to show these labels. I can show a game over label here, right? Which is also part of my overlay, right? But it doesn't show. It's there. It's always there. It's just invisible, right? And then what I can do is when I'm done, when I'm here, my game over, it says game over. Do you want to start again? When I want to start again, I have a button. When I press that button, it transitions me back. Okay. That's it. I'm not going to go further than this. This is pretty much it. I'm going to move from one scene to the other. Any questions around this stuff that we've done today and last week? All right, so that's the end of our how to do sprite kit in a nutshell. Very small, little game that we made. Remember that next week I'm going to be checking to see how you're doing with your assignment 3, right? So I will present with you a little lab, a check in X that basically says, show me your interface, right? So if you're not ready next week, you're going to get 0 for that, and it's a 2% bonus for your final. I think it's really worth it getting ready. So please have your stuff. Partner up with somebody, right? Because you don't have to do this on your own, right? And then you and that other person start creating your documentation. What I'm going to look for next week is your documentation, your wireframes, which you should be drawing out for your scene, which is just, you might only have one scene or whatever that shows me your slot machine, but I want to see however many you can kind of put those wireframes out, because you're going to design according to the wireframes. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I know I never give you time to work, but have a great time. See you next week. And we'll do more other things next week. I want to talk about unit testing. I know somebody was asking for unit testing. Maybe we can talk about that. Sorry, next week. Yeah.